Mobile hunters, if you're interested in upping your mobile game, then head to tetherednation.com and check out their saddle gear. There are a few things you can actually buy that will help you become a better deer hunter or give you the freedom to hunt any tree or any situation. This is the reason why I started saddle hunting in the first place and why I use Tethered's gear. I can honestly say that Tethered's saddle gear has changed how I hunt for the better. Big tree, little tree, from the ground, it doesn't matter. I'm untethered by my gear to hunt the best setup for the situation, instead of hunting for a tree that my gear can use. My current core setup consists of the Phantom saddle, tethered one sticks, and the Predator platform, along with an assortment of their accessories. So if you want to up your mobile game, head over to tetherednation.com. If you're like me, you spend lots of time poring over maps, looking at weather data, all in an effort to help predict when and where my best times to hunt will be. It'd be nice if there was a reliable source with all this information in one place. Enter the Spartan Forge app. Unlike some other predictive apps on the market, Spartan Forge was created from military combat intelligence experience tailored for hunters, and stands at the nexus of machine learning and white-tailed deer hunting. No more man-made algorithms. This is a predictive model based on real GPS collared deer data, historical and predictive weather, and the next level of mapping imagery, all at my fingertips. I've been using the iOS app this season, and it has replaced all my other mapping tools. Visit SpartanForge.ai and sign up today, or head to your iOS or Android app store. Use the promo code TRUTH to save some money and download it today. Welcome to the Truth from a Stand Deer Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Skull Brew Coffee Company. I'm your host, Clint Campbell, and you're listening to episode number 283. Today, we're coming to you live from the DIY trailer for Turkey Camp 2022, so stay tuned. All right. What is up, everyone? Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you are doing well. Hope you are feeling fine. Hope that everyone out there had a good Mother's Day and was able to do a little Mother's Day celebration. They put up with a lot from us, whether it's your mom, your spouse, whatever the case is. If we're being honest, they're really kind of the backbone of everything that lets us kind of do all the adventuring and chasing critters in the woods that we get to do. They're often the ones holding down the home front when we're out gallivanting around. So definitely, my wife probably deserves a mother's year, or mother's century might be a better way to put it, or a decade. I'm not even a century old, so a decade. There you go. Mother's decade is probably what she deserves. I give the worst gifts on the planet for any holiday, and Mother's Day was no different. I'm not going to embarrass myself with the gift selection for this year, but just know that it was whatever you did was probably 100 times better than what I did. I did have some family in town. My dad and stepmom was in town to visit for the weekend, which was awesome. So we had a Mother's Day, I guess, kind of extravaganza over the weekend. So I didn't get to do any hunting. Did some barbecuing. Had some cocktails. There might have been a brunch cocktail party session with some Bloody Marys and so forth, and mimosas for the ladies this morning. So got the day started off right, and definitely needed to get to this podcast to get the episode out for you guys this week. So not going to let the festivities hold me back from bringing you guys the goods on a weekly basis. But with that, we're just going to jump into today's show. No big upfront, no big preamble. This was kind of the first time that we've done a turkey camp, so to speak. I have the farm back home, and a lot of times I'd go back and hunt with some family and stuff like that over this weekend. But knowing that we've been scouting kind of this big woods piece, thought good opportunity to kind of head back there and do some turkey hunting in that general area. Kind of be able to kill two birds with one stone. Do some turkey hunting, spend the weekend there, and in the off time, because we can only hunt till noon here in PA. Be able to do some scouting on Saturday afternoon, and then all day Sunday, of course, and then do some hunting on Monday. So this is recorded, I guess, after the Saturday hunt. So this would have been Sunday, I think, when we got back from scouting when we recorded this. So we hunted one more day. We did get an opportunity to get on a bird late on Monday morning. It flew down. Weather wasn't great, kind of foggy. Flew down late, and ended up on a piece of private that we just couldn't pull the bird off of. It sounded like there was at least one gobbler and two jakes. There might have been a second gobbler. We couldn't really distinguish when he was gobbling if it was the same one or if it was a second one. So with that, there were no birds harmed during the course of this podcast or this trip. But nonetheless, we had a good time, had some good hunts, saw some new country, did some scouting. It was me, my buddy Chad Sylvester, you guys know him, you love him, and our buddy Aaron Hepler. It was the three of us in camp for the weekend, tearing up the woods together and chasing birds and scouting for the fall for bucks. So with that, we're going to go ahead and just jump into the show. And as always, I want to thank you all for listening.
Sign any autographs lately?
No, I haven't. You're a dick. So we're just going to use that as the roll in and get rolling. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast. You can hear I am not alone. Sometimes I wish I were. I got my good buddies with me. We are in turkey camp with my good buddy Chad Sylvester. You know him, you love him, Mr. Exodus Outdoor Gear. And Mr. Aaron Hepler. You know him and you love him too. He's like my trusty sidekick here. Like two of you actually are. Chad's like the unofficial co-host of this podcast.
I'm not the road dog. I can be the road pup.
Road pup. You got to go out of state first to get the get the road to get the road kind of
the road title.
Yeah, the road title. I mean, it may or may not be something that you actually want. You know. I mean, Chad. I mean, it's been pretty good for you.
Depends on how
it has
bad
been good. Yeah, it's been good.
I mean, Missouri was good. Sold bucks.
Yep, Kansas was
got
good.
to release an arrow.
Really depends on how bad it smells.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Protein Bar over here.
Dude, you were talking about volume like I'm like not even on your guys' level. It's just the quality's a little higher.
Bringing the quality. But so we are in turkey camp. We are in the trailer. Made a plan this year made a point, I guess, to do some turkey hunting. I don't do a ton of turkey hunting usually. And we are actually in a big woods piece that we've been scouting. So we thought it would be a good time to just kind of turkey hunt it, see what happens, have some fun. Chad came in from Ohio. He's heard, Aaron and I talk about this piece for, a little over a year now and, had seen some of the bucks that we had on camera. And so he wanted to come out and just kind of check it out. So PA, we're only able to hunt till noon. So, yesterday was the first day and we hunted till noon and then did some scouting afterwards. And then I lost an eye. We'll talk about all that. And then today's Sunday. So we just did a bunch of scouting today, checked some trail cameras, just trying to get everything wrapped up for the winter, spring, getting in, ready for Velvet Fest, Velvet season and stuff like that, get all the cameras hung and stuff like that. So we kind of wrapped that up today, did another last scout, maybe make it up once during the summer, but probably kind of at this point have what I'm going to have, or Aaron and I have what we have until the fall kind of rolls around as far as the game plan goes. And then tomorrow we're going to get up early and try to chase some of the longbeards. We heard a few, and we think we might have a beat on one or two. 3
birds in the bag.
Yeah, and we're enjoying some whiskey. So how's the whiskey, fellas? How are you enjoying this? It's a rye.
It's good.
It's good.
Yeah,
like it. It is a little hot. I'm usually not a rye fan, but it isn't bad.
It's nice.
Yeah, I enjoyed it last night. I also couldn't see. So not that
I think all three of us
slept
like rocks.
You've teased us twice.
I've alluded to it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll start with the hunt first. We'll get there.
We'll get to the eyeball.
Yeah, we'll start with the hunt first. I was actually, while I was in the shower, I was trying to remember. Oh, that's one thing to mention too. We're actually standing at a legit
campground.
Yeah. This is
real facilities here.
Yeah, this is breaking ground.
This is like high class.
Yeah, usually we just go in and steal a shower at someone's campground, like when we're out somewhere.
Dirty birds.
Or we just shower in the old trailer shower, which is, I mean, it gets the job done. But
it works. Yeah,
it works. So we're at a legit campsite. It's a nice joint.
Very nice.
Along a lake. Park ranger is really nice.
Super nice.
Yeah.
Really accommodating.
Yeah.
We didn't get a ticket. Oh, nice.
Chad made a friend.
I make friends everywhere I go.
Yeah. But so the first day, I'm trying to remember where we went yesterday morning off the rip.
Well, I don't want to say the name, but it's where we normally park the camper.
I don't know.
Oh, that's right. We were over there. Yeah.
Guys,
well, I guess we should start with we we all tried listening when we got here. So I got here on Friday afternoon. You guys got here in the evening and listened at one spot while I listened to the spot that we hunted.
Yeah. And that was
lots of people.
Yeah.
Listening.
Yeah. Just on listening. Because, I mean, you ran into, like, what, 2 days?
Three trucks. 3 trucks where I listened Friday night.
Right. And I got here and dropped the trailer and tried to boogie over toward where you were at, and met you actually on the road coming back because you had seen a bunch of people. But you spent the day here kind of scouting.
Yeah, I scouted a little bit and, walked around the area that we were at today.
Yeah.
But the area I listened in, there was nobody listening. But that was a kind of a different story the next day.
Yeah, I mean, crazy pressure.
Yeah.
Like just trucks everywhere.
Yeah, nobody's like willing to, you want to talk about where you're going to.
Yeah, the etiquette was like a little surprising.
Very kind of pretty poor, yeah.
Yeah, why don't you talk about that?
Oh, jeez. Well, I don't know. To me, when you pull into a parking area, if you see other trucks there, like one, you just go to your next spot, right?
Yeah.
Like that's an option. Or if there's people outside the vehicle, like I always stop and say, hey, what's your game plan? This was my plan. What's your plan? You were here first. I don't want to screw you up. If you're doing this, I'll go down to the next spot or whatever.
Yeah.
Usually there's plenty of room for everybody.
Exactly.
I mean, because we do that even when we're out of state bow hunting.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
It happens to us all the time.
Yeah. Like that's just a normal, and apparently that's not a thing here. It's just like, let me shut my door and sprint to my spot.
I don't know if it's not a thing, because usually, like, as far as deer hunting and bow hunting goes, like for me in PA, like that's usually hey, I'm going to go this way, you know.
Even me where I live, and there's a ton of pressure around me.
Yeah.
It's like and I've had plenty of times where I've pulled into a place, and a guy's there and getting ready, and, and he'll just say, hey, we're planning to head over this way. What direction you planning to go?
Yeah.
We're not telling each other exactly where we're going to be, but.
Well, the weird thing with like hunting turkeys on public, especially where we were that day, because it's not a giant piece.
No.
Yeah.
You hear a bird gobble and like everybody's,
you're
not the only one that's hearing that bird.
Yeah.
We didn't even hear a shot though.
No,
we didn't.
But I was surprised that guy got out because I saw him get out of his truck and I kind of looked over. I was trying to do the I'm looking over to you. Like, I don't want to interrupt you if you're getting your stuff out and getting dressed, because he wasn't dressed. Like, he was getting dressed outside of his truck.
Yeah.
And I kind of looked over to give him the look of hey, we're over here. Like, when you're done, we should figure out where we're going,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I fully expected him to come over, so I didn't even know he was gone yet. Like, I was like, where'd he go?
Yeah. I didn't even hear him shut his door.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it was he just, not that you'd slam it,
full
of course,
sneak mode.
Well, we're turkey hunting, so I mean, that can help sometimes.
Yeah, slam the door.
Yeah. But we were at a spot where last time Aaron and I were here, we, we're up in the morning and we
used the magic bullet and we heard probably 5 or 6 birds in that.
Yeah. And so we felt real good about that spot. I mean, we were kind of
and I was like, what in the hell did these guys get me into?
Come here to PA.
Right. So we left there and then we went up on the mountain, and I mean, it was just as bad up there. There were guys as soon as we got up there. Yeah. We heard a guy, coyote calling.
9 trucks?
Yeah, 8 or 9 trucks.
Well, that was the second spot. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just interjected at the wrong point in time.
Oh, well, I mean, it was still.
No, it was 6 at that spot.
Oh, 6 at the first one.
Yeah. There's
2, and then there was 6, and then there was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And then 2 on the back side.
Yeah. Yeah. And so just people everywhere. We never heard a single gobble there at all.
No gobbles, no shots.
Yeah. So then I'm sure you were kind of thinking what the hell?
I was a little bit.
I came from Ohio for this nonsense.
Yeah. $150 turkey tag. What?
Right. It already killed his turkey in Ohio, on the first day or whatever, you know? Yeah. I was pretty surprised. I mean, because I know in bow season around here, it's just not.
Well, that's what you guys kept saying. The pressure, there's no pressure here. There's no. And the first, I mean, it's there. Ain't no way I'm coming back here bow hunting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I feel like the pressure was way more, probably would resemble opening day of gun season is what I would think. You know, I mean, because I've been up here in bow season and didn't see anybody, and our buddy, hunted it all. I mean, he lives up here, so he's hunted it all of his life, and then all this year, I think he saw one guy, in total, So I think it's just that it's spring.
Yep.
Turkey hunting's a pretty low barrier to entry, to go out.
Openers on a Saturday.
Openers on a Saturday,
and you only hunt till noon.
Yeah.
So it's not like you got so you can literally, if you have a honey-do list, you can go out, chase some turkeys, and you can be back home by 1:00.
Yep.
Where whitetail hunting, it's an all-day event a lot of times, or you're not going out till the evening, depending on what you're doing or whatever. But if you got the day, you're going to go out scout and try to hunt or whatever. So anyway, we leave that spot. Where did we go after that?
We went up.
Did we go where the dead deer carcass is? Is that where we went?
No, we went over to where we scouted.
We went to where we were scouting and got the.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I had this great idea. It was a really good idea.
So this is all Aaron's fault.
It's all my fault.
So
it wasn't my fault. It was a great idea.
Yeah. Why don't you talk about the spot, just in what enamored you about it?
So kind of like a drainage. Looked like a pretty long, continuous beaver swamp, which it definitely is. It's definitely a beaver swamp.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's the only thing that would live there.
Long walk back to get into the swamp, and then long walk into the areas that we wanted to check out. So I think we made it. We made it all the way back there, and
it was kind of a dual mission. We were turkey hunting,
but
while we were there,
and deer scouting, and we found plenty of turkey sign there. There were tracks.
There was a lot of
tracks. Like as soon as we got there, and we were kind of all like, "Oh, this looks great!"
And we were stoked because we really didn't see anyone. Well, there was
one in the next parking lot up. There was another vehicle,
right? But this was this kind of piece. Is miles. You could walk a 2-track miles.
Well, we walked back 2 miles until we even dropped into what we wanted to check out,
right?
And found great stuff along the way as far as turkey sign goes. Still, again, no gobbles. Just tracks. Saw a swamp on the way out there that we were like, oh, if all this stuff looks like this is going to be great, So we started down along the edge of the swamp, and at first it wasn't too bad.
No, it was kind of interesting. When you were down on the low side, it was pretty shitty, and thick, of course, because it's a swamp. But if you got up on that high side where that knob was, it didn't open up necessarily. It just kind of changed enough.
Nice cover enough that you could walk through it and not have a hard time. But then we dropped down to try to get into some of the pinch points that went through the swamp.
Well, when we crossed that rock, the rock runoff, whatever that thing, the big ass boulders,
aquifer, whatever they call them.
When we got over there, that was kind of cool because it was kind of open.
Yeah,
there was a little bit of deer sign in there, not a ton, but
yeah. But we did. We dropped down off that ridge to start checking out what we really wanted to get there for, the things that we thought would be funnels and
the
pinch
land
points.
Bridges.
They were, I don't even know what you want to call them. Not land bridges.
Well, when we looked at the map, it
looks like timber going through the swamp.
Right. It looks like little connectivity points that kind of go between two swamp sections. It looked like a little funnel where it was like, man, if that's what that is, if there's going to be any sign here of any magnitude, it's probably going to be there.
Yep.
So I lost all credibility because then there was no.
There was
zero. Land bridge.
If you could have less than jack shit, that's what that place had.
Oh man.
Well, there was plenty of cover.
Oh, yeah, plenty of cover.
As Clint soon found out.
Yeah, so I'm
when
walking
he's leading
through
the way out.
Yeah, I'm trying to just so we get to the land bridge, and it's just getting like dog
less
hair
land
thick.
bridge-ish.
Yeah, and it just turns into water. So we can't cross where we thought we were going to cross. So we're going to have to go. We tried. So we were going to have to basically double back. And
we found a tree stand in there.
That was probably from 1920.
Yeah.
Thing was rotted out, and the metal that was laying on the ground was all rusted.
The nails were all falling out from the wooden stand too.
So we basically realized at that point we're gonna have to double back and basically follow the path that we took in to get out. And we had realized at that point
that made Clint real happy.
We wanted to make a loop there.
We did, yeah.
We couldn't cross.
Yeah, we just wanted to go around because we were like, well, let's just at least get to the other side because maybe it's a little bit different. Because that's the weird thing about this place is that one area, it'll be, one type of habitat, and then just out of nowhere, it'll just change on a dime. Like you saw it today while we were scouting. It's just like
100%.
out of nowhere, it'll just be drastically different. So
when we told you that, like you got to walk a mile and all of a sudden you'll turn up into
like, oh, here's where all the deer spend their time.
Yeah.
You know? So we tried to get around it because we just wanted to see the other side because we'd already walked at that point. I think it was like it took forever because it was so thick.
Well, that's what the next thing was, is we walked all of a little bit more than a quarter mile and we were already an hour into just where we dropped into that.
It took a long time to get back there.
Yeah. I think in total to get to the land bridge, it was like three quarters of a mile. Because I think the whole
loop.
Was
it that far?
Yeah. It was like.
I didn't think we were in that far.
I think when I looked at the track, I think it looked like almost like a mile and a half, like to get there and to get back
to the road. Yeah. Okay.
So, and that wasn't a straight line. Like we looped up on top of that ridge a little bit to get into like something we could walk a little easier in and stuff.
Yeah.
But so we ended up starting coming back. So,
but basically, from the stuff that we wanted to check out down in there further, we were hours away from getting down there.
The rest of the day.
Yeah,
easily it would have been the rest of the day.
And we weren't even at noon yet. We were still like 10 a.m. or something like that when we jumped in there.
It was early.
No, because we started walking out of there. When we finally got out, it was 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Or 10:30.
And it was 10:30 when we sat down on the road to eat lunch.
Yeah.
Or eat snacks or whatever.
So when we realized we have to double back and just get out, so now it's like my mind goes like, all right, let's just get out of here. Like not path of least resistance. Like it's just like break through whatever we got to break through and just move.
Get to something open so we can cover some ground.
Yeah. So I'm trying to break, and it's all just laurel, like just and
all those little beach things,
like
whatever.
beach saplings,
beach brush.
Whatever,
Yeah.
And I'm busting through, and all of a sudden, like one of the branches of the laurel snaps back, and it breaks because I broke it as I was pushing through. It snapped back and just cracked me right in the eye, like, and not one of those ones where it's like glances you and you're like, oh, that's close, that kind of hurt. Like no, like stuck me in the eye, where it felt like it, like stabbed me, and
for the rest of the day,
and I couldn't see. Like, I mean, there was a moment where I was like, man. And when it first happened, I was like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to get out of here because, like, it's so thick, like, you can't see. You know what I mean? Oh, well, you can't see very far in front of you. You kind of need your eyes. You know what I mean? It's not like you can just kind of, like, one eye your way through. And at that point, I couldn't even open either eye because the right eye hurt so bad that just made me want to close both of them. And I managed to make it out, and it's just like the rest of the day, it's like I'd walk a little ways.
Every, 50 to 100 yards, we had to stop because his eye was just like watering everywhere.
And just like a faucet.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm talking about it starting to water now. Just even freaking talking about it. But I mean, there was like a moment where I was like, man, I'm gonna have to go to the freaking hospital and like get this thing looked at because it's just like hurts so freaking bad. So we managed to get out of there, and then the rest of my day was just trying to like make sure I could see and keep up. You know, it was all I was trying to do. So we finally get out of there. I'm one eye in it. And then we get on the road, we eat, take a quick break, and then we started heading back out further, right?
Yeah, we went deeper. Yeah.
And then, what did we see then?
I mean, we were, at that point, we had crossed, was that before or after that one, that overflow? It wasn't really a beaver dam, but the overflow from one swamp, I think it was after.
Yeah, it was after.
There was more turkey tracks and more sign down through there.
Yeah, when we got out of that, when I got my eye busted up, when we got down a little further, we actually saw the tracks headed the opposite way.
Right.
Because all the tracks we were seeing were actually headed, when we got in there at first, were headed out.
Yeah.
Toward where we were coming from.
When we got back in there, we probably walked another 30 minutes or so, something like that. Got back to a spot where actually Aaron saw that hen out in the open. She was kind of working away from us. And we started calling just to see if there was a gobbler in the area. Mm-hmm. Called it in a coyote.
Yeah,
that was like 60 yards. He came in the call, but he was downwind and he, spooked or whatever.
Not too fast to get a shot.
Yeah, I mean, we only saw him for a split second.
It was a big dog, too.
And we saw Tommy on the mountain bike.
Yeah, we did.
20 seconds after that.
Yep.
It's a good thing we didn't shoot.
It was a good thing.
He would have got a surprise.
Yeah.
He might have got a little spray.
Not a good situation.
Yeah.
But that was, I mean, after that, we started working back towards the truck. And I think that was pretty much the day. Like, we wanted to get back to that food plot.
Yeah, as far as turkey hunting goes.
Yeah.
We made it to the food plot. And
with like 15 minutes. Yeah.
With like 15 minutes left.
And then we were pretty aggressive, like, as far as, trying to strike one up.
Yep. And just did not hear.
We didn't hear gobble the whole day.
Didn't hear gobble.
No.
Well, that's not true.
Yeah, we heard one.
Later.
Did we hear one?
Yeah, later in the day when we went.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
so we're not for turkey hunting.
Not
We did
during legal
hear-
hours.
Didn't hear one during legal hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we basically hoofed it back to the truck at that point after stopping at that.
We did 8
that
miles
block.
by lunch.
Yeah,
By noon.
8 miles by noon.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so then our plan was we basically came back to the trailer,
Took a
just
nap.
unloaded, took a nap. I laid down so I could try to see if my eye was going to fall out of the socket or not. It actually helped, like taking a nap and just like shutting it, because I think I was just getting irritated from constantly blinking. I think is what the issue was. And then we got up, had a little run in with the park ranger, which is fun. Nothing nefarious happened.
We good cop, bad copped him, and
Yeah,
Yeah,
we didn't get a ticket.
Chad didn't get a ticket.
We could only have so many vehicles at our campsite. We had more than the allotted
I
amount.
mean, he just needs to learn how to follow the rules better.
Yeah, they give you rules at these places.
The rules
Yeah.
they come with the.
I've never been very good at following rules.
Well, that and they don't make them very obvious.
No, they don't.
Yeah. So anyway, at that point, the plan of this trip was like hunt turkeys in the morning, scout in the afternoon. So, and then also just try to find turkeys for the next day potentially, or for the the rest of the hunts. So we headed over to a spot that Aaron and I had hung some trail cameras. We thought might be decent for turkeys. It was a spot that Chad ran into a couple people when he got over here on Friday night to listen.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, let's go over there. I had to change out some batteries and stuff like that, and just kind of see what's doing. Maybe we hear some turkeys. Get over to that spot. Get to the first camera pretty quickly. Set that up. Change out batteries. Went to a second setup. Actually found some decent scrapes.
We heard a bird gobble at the first camera.
Yeah, we heard a bird. That's where we heard
And
the
that
bird.
that's
bird
where
was
we heard.
hot.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, that's right. It was at the first camera. For some
Yeah,
reason, I was
he
thinking
was-
the second camera.
He was really gobbling his head off.
we
for
could have
as
killed
far
that
as-
bird if we would have been
easily.
able to hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, he gobbled
was
6 or
fired
7
up.
times while we were at that
Yeah,
camera.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then at that point, went back to this other little section, an area I had a camera stolen, but moved it to a different area, hung a camera over in an area that had some scrapes, made a mock scrape there. And then at that point, the mission then was just, there was some of that Aaron and I had never seen before and had walked through. So then we were like, well, why don't we just walk toward where we think we heard that bird gobble and see if we can maybe figure out where he was hanging out. Don't want to bust him up or anything like that, but we were like, it might be something we might be able to hunt Monday if we can figure him out.
I mean, we have that bird.
Oh, we can hunt that bird.
We have
tomorrow.
that bird pegged pretty much for whatever area he's loafing in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of good hunt plans for him too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely a killable bird.
So we did another 4 miles, roughly.
Yeah.
Because I think we did a total of 12 plus, 12 and a half.
We
or
did
something like
12.
that.
Yeah, 12. Yeah.
So we ended up doing 4 miles there. We didn't hear another bird the rest of that hike. Saw a bunch more of that country in that general area than I've seen before. I hadn't been back to a couple of those areas.
Yeah. But I mean, I think between the spot we hunted in the morning and then the my faux pas in the afternoon
Mm-hmm.
hunt, I think that, Chad kind of liked the area we checked out and started changing batteries in. It's a little bit different compared to the other areas that we hunted, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
for
you haven't
sure.
gotten to see this yet, so
No,
as far as
first time.
you
Yeah.
know,
But even the stuff I know we'll get into this, but the stuff we covered today, I think,
Yeah.
as far as whitetail,
Yeah, we'll get into the whitetail stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, the stuff
Yeah.
it was not, I don't want to say it was primo. It's not like you're in Iowa, but
right.
for
right.
big wood stuff, it
Yeah.
was pretty intriguing.
Yeah. So we ended up jumping out of that spot and decided to go grab some food at the local with some locals. My eyes was all busted up. So I ended up the sun was killing me. So I was wearing sunglasses. We go to this
9
bar
o'clock at night.
Yeah. We
Clint
go to
has
the I still got
sunglasses on.
sunglasses on. We go to this bar and and I didn't want people seeing just the constant watering eye going on and stuff like that. And lights were bothering me. So I ended up I was the douchebag at the bar
in the sunglasses.
wearing his sunglasses. And I've always hated that guy. Anytime I go into a bar and I see a guy wearing sunglasses at the bar, I'm like, that guy, you can write it down, mail it to yourself. Grade A douchebag.
I mean,
Sitting
it did
right
take
That's
20
that's
minutes to
probably
get
it.
our check.
It was probably Clint.
She was like,
Oh,
nah.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of interesting because I was wearing sunglasses. I could look around and watch people and then not know that I'm watching them. And we had a lot of shitty looks. Like, I'm pretty much everyone in there was like, who's the non-local with the shades on at the bar, thinking he's too cool for school.
I mean, we were the only ones, which was odd on the first day of turkey season. We were the only ones wearing camo.
We were wearing casual camo.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I don't really ever do that, but
I don't either.
Yeah, we did it. We did it.
Yeah.
We all had some kind of camo on.
Yeah.
Logo wear, you know.
It was. It was probably the combination of the sunglasses and the casual camo. You know, casual camo usually gets a look just in general.
Yeah.
You know,
which is odd to me because it seems like a place where everybody goes after the first day of turkey season.
You would think.
Yeah.
I mean, the crowd seemed like the kind of crowd that would be into casual camo.
Yeah.
You know,
they did.
They weren't.
Like they probably have like camo Crocs.
I mean, we're in the Rockies.
We're in the Rockies. The Rockies of Pennsylvania. So we had dinner. Ended up coming back here and just passing out. Basically, had a glass of whiskey and talked about the day. Grabbed some showers since we actually have a shower, and then passed out.
The water was hot tonight.
Not for me, man. No good.
Yeah.
But I realized which stalls you guys use, so I just got out and moved over to those stalls because they were the only ones that were wet. Because we're like literally the only people here right now.
Yeah. Yeah. There is only one other, or that we saw. There's only one other.
4.
No,
there's 4 total.
4.
Yeah, there's 5 including us, and there's like 70 campsites here. So it cleared out. Oh yeah, it was hopping Friday night when we got here. It was like,
it was full, just about
packed.
Minus maybe 1 or 2 sites.
I booked this on, when did I book this? Monday?
Yeah.
And there was 2 sites available.
Well, because I had sent you the link for it like a couple days before, and there was plenty of availability. So it's definitely a
forecast started looking better, probably. You know.
Yeah.
We had Cat Stevens there serenading us here the next
this morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Fleck.
Yeah, he was playing his banjo with his straw hat on.
Yep.
They have a straw hat.
He did have a straw.
He did.
He didn't at first. At first, he was just playing his banjo.
He put it on halfway through the second
seen
song.
his Patagonia.
Yeah.
Buffy.
It was like he was warming up a little bit. You know, the crunch.
He got serious.
The
got
crunch.
the straw
Yeah,
hat.
the crunch got a little louder. The crunchiness, and then all of a sudden, the next time I look over, like he's got a straw hat, and I'm like, oh damn, dude's going full bohem on us over here. And then he was singing.
I did hear that.
So the hat, like I think the hat was like the confidence builder.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, well, I mean, people can't mess with this. I got a straw hat on. Like, how can you deny that? A straw hat and a banjo.
I mean,
I thought the same thing when I was like 24.
Yeah.
But anyway, so got up this morning. Sunday morning, you know, lazy day, you know, because we did a bunch of miles yesterday. So we just kind of took it easy this morning. It's nice. Again, campground's awesome. So we just kind of enjoyed
sleeping in.
Yeah, sleeping in and having some coffee and just kind of kicking it around camp a little bit. And finally got our stuff together and hit the road, I think like 10 o'clock or something like that, roughly. And so the plan for the day was really just to go, again, like I said earlier, was to go to the spots that Aaron and I had put out cameras and change batteries. Anything that was a new camera that had been hung like within like the last month, just wanted to check to make sure we were even just getting deer on camera.
Yeah.
That way it wasn't completely in a busted spot. So we did that, and this was the first time Chad's heard us talk about this. He's seen, you know, the trail camera pictures and stuff and videos that we've had from this area, and you know, we've tried to explain what it looks like and how we think it would hunt and stuff like that.
And he already had like something in mind where he thought he was gonna have to walk through bullshit the whole time.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, his hopes probably weren't super high today for going out to scout.
No, I mean, today was really good, I felt like.
But what did you think? So last night, we didn't go, like, what you had seen yesterday, and we're like, yeah, we're going to spend a whole day, like, checking cameras and scouting.
My hope was not very high for what we were going to get into today from Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
Just based on, I mean, we got into some decent territory. Like, there was some structure with some cuts and some different things, but just like from the perspective of having so many people on the first day of turkey season, like just people everywhere, the lack of birds, or I shouldn't say lack of birds because there's birds here, but lack of vocal birds.
Yeah, I mean, we've all talked about how much turkey sign we've found. Like, there's plenty of
There's plenty of birds
tracks
here.
and whatever everywhere and scratchings.
Yeah. So I mean, I was a little bummed on Saturday. I mean, to be honest, but I mean, we got some good stuff today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, first place we went is a place where we've had some really good inventory, whitetail inventory, but just a lot of nocturnal pictures, a lot of nighttime inventory, and we found
Hardhorn, because we do have a lot of good daylight velvet stuff.
Velvet, yeah. But we had located one or two good spots that we really thought would be good for like October, into November essentially, right? And a couple different types of setups, and we kind of walked Chad through those because we needed to check cameras and change
the batteries.
Yeah, and so the first spot was in around those hemlocks and stuff like that, where we had all those.
We found the shed,
scrapes, and we found the shed, and the rubs and stuff like that. What did you think of that kind of first spot right after we get past the water and whatnot?
I really like the first spot just because of the access. Like you have bulletproof access there to hunt. Whether or not you're gonna have encounters with deer. You walk into a spot like that. There's sign. You guys laid out bedding. You said that there's a boulder here. There's a point dropping off a ridge side. There's a bed up there, so it made a lot of sense to me. But as far as that spot was good. But I think as we worked, I don't know what direction, but as we worked,
that would be west.
As we worked west, we went through a bunch. I'll call it a dead zone, like some monotonous beach and cherry, basically. Yeah, not much there.
Parts of it you could play baseball in. It's just so open.
Right. Yeah. And then we got into some really good stuff, which I felt like, man, if I was going to come here and hunt during the rut, like that would be, from what I've seen so far, like that would be probably the number one spot.
Right. Yeah. So we worked west, and that was a spot that Aaron and I kind of found the last time he and I was here. And it's like we got into some rubs, some scrapes. There's
a lot of tucked in stuff too, like in between,
There's just a lot of edge there.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of edge.
Yeah. And then
good bow setups too. You know, for wind and thermals.
A lot of setup options.
Access isn't terrible there. Yeah, because if you come up from the bottom there, instead of walking out the way we walk to check cameras, if you come up from the bottom there, it's like you get a much better.
There was probably the most buck sign in that area.
Yeah,
and not just from last year, like historical stuff, which like to me during the rut in a big wood setting, like. Deer are using that year over. I mean, that's almost annual trail camera data. Right. I mean, you don't know the days, but you know that they're in there during that time period.
It's a good mix because you can tell there's rubs from multiple years ago, rubs from last year.
And they weren't small rubs. A lot of the historical stuff, like it had some height on it and stuff like that, to where you look at it and you go, like to your point, I've always kind of like, so whether this is right or wrong, like in the big woods, I've always kind of looked at sign like a little differently than I would look in places that have a ton of structure. Whereas places that have a ton of structure, I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to the older sign necessarily. I want to see like the newest stuff. Like
you want the MRI.
Right, yeah. But in the big woods, like I feel like I look at it a little bit differently because to me, the historical stuff, it's not as valuable as like this past season's sign necessarily. But if a spot looks good and you're in an area like this where you have a lot of areas that just aren't, that are wide open, that are kind of like, to your point, dead zones. It's a great way to kind of say it. And then you get into like these little, I kind of refer to them as like micro habitats, and that has historical sign. I don't care if there's not a ton of brand new sign there, because the historical tells me that like deer over time like this spot, and these deer don't lay down a ton of sign necessarily. Like even when you find pockets of sign, you usually don't find a ton. It's like you'll find a couple rubs, and then you'll find a couple decent scrapes, maybe, you know what I mean, or a handful of decent rubs. It's not like they just destroy a place.
Right. And yet, you were saying too, Chad, about like, oh, like the rubs are not on really like big trees. They're not, your typical like high up or whatever. But honestly, like the bucks that are in the areas that we're getting pictures of are the ones making the rubs. And it's like, what Clint's saying is like the big wood setting is that maybe they just don't make that kind of sign.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very reminiscent of where you and
I,
where we hunt in Ohio together.
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
Yeah, there's not a lot
the
of
caliber
sun
of deer that we know that are there,
Yeah.
Versus the size
sign
of
that you
rubs.
see.
That you see.
Yeah,
there's only one spot that I've seen that it matches. You know,
right.
other than that, it's like you would think it's a bunch of Forkies making most of the sign.
Right.
Yeah, your big rubs aren't going to be your thigh sized, chest height. You know.
Yeah, there's just not the competition and
Yeah.
deer numbers. Yeah.
And we haven't, in just the bucks that we've had on camera over the past year and, look, I guess past year, I don't have on camera, we don't have a lot of small bucks. Like, it's all, like, borderline Pope and Young and better. Like if I were to put a percentage on it, I would say, like, 85 to 90% of the deer that we have are, like, on camera are, like, that Pope and Young and better.
Well, you're in an area that, there's a lot of places to hide. I mean, it's big country, right?
Yeah,
and there's not a lot of guys coming in here and killing bucks.
Yeah.
Like, and I've only been here for 2 days, and I could say that with pretty high confidence level. There's not a lot of guys coming in here and killing bucks.
No. Yeah. Not. I mean, there's plenty of places they could go and kill a smaller,
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
You know, because we've had places where we're hanging camera and there'll be, does and manicured kind of stuff or whatever, if you want to call it that. But like in an area like that, you could kill bucks every year, and some people are just fine with, like, whatever.
Right.
But, yeah. Essentially, when you get into those pockets like that, that's where you're going to have the opportunity to kill a decent buck, because it's a little off the beaten path. It's a little further away.
Yep.
We were both pretty excited to show them, like, the one big rub that we found.
The tree broke.
I know, right?
So we got there. We actually swapped out a camera, and then we ended up turning around and just basically walking out. And then we walked that bench out along the water's edge.
Yeah.
Just to kind of see what was there.
Well, we found those 2 red oaks in the middle of those, which I think are going to be the food source. I don't know what's up on that hillside, but I think in relation to where
when I found that, you
found that one cap,
and then
we
like a
happened
mud
to
pile.
look up, and there was the red oaks
There was a couple of red oaks right there, and I think like that. I mean, every time you pick something like that up, it just areas like that just make a little more sense, right?
Yep.
Well, and there is no oaks here, like
that's.
Which is kind of a good thing, right? Because you walk through an oak forest, and if they're everywhere, you don't know how to narrow the deer down when they're right.
That's the Ohio spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like roller skates.
I mean, some of the places that I hunted in the same area you guys hunted in Ohio, it's all maples.
Yeah.
So you get that one lone white oak or red oak, whatever it happens to be, is what they're going to eat.
Yeah.
But they're coming there.
Absolutely.
There's no way they're not.
And all the walking we've done here over the past year, like, I don't recall seeing. Now, Tom knows where there's like 1 or 2 white oaks somewhere.
Yeah.
But all the country that I've walked and covered, I've not seen a white oak yet.
There's some new ones in that cut back at the other spot.
Okay.
That we went to on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So if you just go out past the other direction where that cut was that we walked back through, the beginning of it, there's some white oaks in that.
Yep.
But yeah, so in this area, you're not finding white oaks. So essentially, red oaks are. I mean, other than browse, that's
if you want to find an acorn, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. So we ended up going down towards the water's edge, walking this bench out. Didn't really see anything down there of note, and then there
were a couple of rubs down there on those little.
Well, at the very end, when we got almost back
towards where I bumped those deer earlier in the day. Yeah.
Yep. And then we hopped up out of there, and where did we go somewhere after that, or was that the end of the day?
That was the beginning portion of the day.
Oh, that was today.
That was today.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yep. So then we left there and drove not far away to another spot that we parked that we have a handful of cameras in. And this is one where I got a ton of velvet inventory last year, like hammer velvet, like the best velvet card pulls I've ever had. Like multiple big deer consistently, knowing full well that they were going to vanish at some point, because it's in the middle of a cut. I just kind of on a whim threw a camera there and it worked out.
Mm-hmm.
But from there was one that I hung in October that gave us the best daylight photos that we had consistently, and it started like end of October through like the first like 2 weeks of November, just the rut time frame.
Yeah.
It's this bench and they're using it consistently. And that's the one spot I feel like during the rut that I know for sure, just based on camera intel from last year, that if you were going to sit 3 days somewhere, if you sat there and you had decent winds those days, you would have an encounter with a good deer.
Yep.
But as far as like sign or like anything to tell you to be there, there's nothing there other than there is a bed down a little further from there that Aaron and I found.
We found that in July or August last year.
And then there was a small crossing that we had found up there, and then the edge of there's a cut on this one side that the edge of that lines up exactly where I have the camera.
Yep.
And I'm seeing deer kind of coming up over this mountain.
That's a way. I mean, it's
a piece down there.
That's a way.
Sure.
I mean, you really got to start looking at the big picture and tying that stuff together to realize that deer are using that hard edge.
Yeah.
As a way to get up over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
There's not a lot of people putting that together.
Right.
No,
and it didn't dawn on me until after I saw the pictures and was driving, and I was driving by it, and I was like, man, I wonder if that camera is lined up with that. You know, and I just pulled up my map and started looking, and I was like, well, don't you know? I was like, and it wasn't like I did it purposefully. It was just kind of a happy accident. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to put it on that bench somewhere because I was like, I think these deer are going to use this bench at some point in October, November. I just want to know when. And it's not far from like another cut, you know, but I was actually thinking that was going to have more of an influence than the one on the bottom.
Right.
But whenever I went back in hindsight and looked at it, I was like, no, it's that. And we knew that there's doe bedding back on top, like behind us, you know. And so that was kind of the other reason, but that was more of a flyer, you know.
But even that area is, like we said, it's all it's all monotonous. Like everything's the same vegetation, same trees. Like there's not a lot going on. The only difference is there's something for them to pinch on, like to travel on.
There's a little bit of terrain. Yep.
Right.
And there's not a lot, I mean, there's no sign there to tell you.
Other than some deer poop or something.
No,
nothing.
I mean, you have a bench and maybe a very faint trail where you could see some leaves kicked up every so often, but not. I mean,
yeah. So it's all that edge and the doe bedding behind it is everything for that spot. So we ended up walking this bench out further. And Aaron and I had walked this the last time. So we were really trying to get over like the end of this point, but kind of checking cameras. So we changed batteries in that camera, walked this bench out the rest of the way. Now we're kind of above this one kind of cut area. And it just turns into monotonous, like the same shit forever. And then when Aaron and I were up here about a month ago, we found this little spot that was just out of nowhere. It just kind of pops up. Like a stretch of hemlocks. A stretch of laurel.
Yeah, and I think the way we found it is we saw a scrape kind of in the distance, and we're like, oh, hey, let's drop down. There's some cover down there, which is how we found that the first time. But the scrape that we found kind of led into a scrape line, which is what we wanted to show you.
Right. Yeah. So we hopped into that laurel,
checked out that scrape line.
And we had a camera in there, so we just checked it to see if there were actually deer that were kind of coming through that area that we set like a month or so ago.
Yeah.
Confirmed it. Yep. Deer are passing through here, so we're going to leave it there. I have a cell camera that's not far from there, kind of on this edge of where that laurel is and where like there's a cut that kind of meets it a little bit, that we've gotten good intel from last year. And there's a hammer scrape that's in there. So what did you think of
a bunch of hammer scrapes?
Yeah, a bunch of scrapes. And then we ended up finding a scrape line that came out of it. And I think that was like another big piece of the puzzle. So when you saw that, what did you think of seeing like the laurel and like how that sets up with the cut and all that stuff?
When we got to that first laurel pocket, I was trying to figure out where the deer were coming from because we didn't find any beds in there, right? Like there was no doe bedding. We didn't find any buck beds.
No buck beds.
So I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on there that was causing deer, all the sign to be focused in that one area. I mean, obviously there's cover, there's a little bit of diversity, but they're not bedded there. So I was a little bit puzzled, honestly, when we got in there. And we found those couple rubs that were kind of dropping down, which would have led them down in that cut. I'm like, okay, well maybe path of travel. But when we got on that elevation line, like, the sign held true all the way down to that point. And some of it was sporadic somewhat. But on the backside of the first laurel patch, we started getting into those red oaks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was still scrapes.
Yes.
Going along, the scrape line continued through those red oaks.
And that's the longest scrape line I've seen here.
Yeah.
Because it starts in that
Laurel. It was
and it's
quarter mile at least.
Yeah. And there's at least, I mean, as far as big scrapes go, there's at least, you can count at least 10 of them and then more, you know, when you're talking.
But once we got to the red oaks,
compared.
that's when it started like, okay,
yeah,
there's enough trees in here that maybe, you know, they're obviously not all in the same cycle, not all producing in the same year.
right.
But there's enough that
it's condensed there.
There's oaks producing every year somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
So that's when it was like, okay, this makes sense.
And they're eating them in the fall because there is not a single deer in camera in that general area in late season, like at all.
Right.
So it's not like
there's nothing else there for them to eat other than a cut. And
exactly.
I mean, they'll be down in there in the summer, but once the green stuff starts to dry up, it's like a bean field turning brown.
That's exactly the shift that we saw last year. So it all started making more sense because it's like that cut was on fire, and I had all kinds of velvet pictures all the way up to
every day.
Yeah, every day. And then all of a sudden September hit, and they just vanished. And it wasn't like they were transitioning yet. You know what I mean? At that point, because they hadn't peeled at that point. They were probably still 2 weeks away from peeling velvet and stuff like that. But what changed? Those red oaks probably started dropping up there.
Yeah, and we would have known it too if it was hunting pressure, because like in that cut, that's really the only area you could walk.
Yeah.
Like you're not getting there through, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going straight up and over. You're walking those logging roads.
Right, exactly. So we come out of there, we follow that scrape line. Like Chad said, there's just a quarter mile long worth of scrape lines. And then all of a sudden we see another pocket of laurel just kind of pop up. And now this one was thicker than
much thicker.
You couldn't walk
you
through
couldn't
this
walk
one,
through it, yeah.
And let's talk about what you found.
Well, Aaron's the one that found it.
Yeah, well, we all kind of just like, I took the upper edge. You were going to go kind of try to get through the middle of it, and Clint was on the edge.
I was hoping to poke another eye out, so I figured I'd walk through all that shit again.
Yeah, down, and then fall off the cliff that you were on.
Yeah.
But I saw a little bare spot, and at first I was like, oh, is that a scrape? So I walked over to it, and there's hair in it. So I'm like, hey, they found a bed here. And that was a sizable bed. Like,
yeah, that's a
like
buck bed.
You held your wingspan out, and it was like
it's at least
just
5.5
about
feet
there.
across.
Yeah, real big bed. Maybe has spots where he's laying his head one direction or another.
Yep.
But it looks like he's using it consistently. I mean, there's hair in it. There's scatter.
It's down to the dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the few beds that we found around here, just in general. I think that might be the only one that I've seen that was actually down to the dirt.
Minus the one that we found where we camp. There's that one like way on the backside down in the bottom below that cut.
That's
We
right.
found one once.
Yeah, you're right.
But
down at the below that cut that rub line worked into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this was the only bed we found like that. And this bed's definitely used. And like it made a whole lot of sense. Like he's laying in the edge of the laurel. He can look out, look to the other direction over that entire scrape line. He can take complete advantage. I mean, I don't think if there's wind, I don't think it's the type of bench that you're going to have swirling problems because it's wide enough that you could have a pretty consistent wind. But
he's not far from red oaks.
Right. He can take the advantage of the wind, the thermals, everything there. And then if he's got to get away, like ain't nothing chasing him through that stuff. Like
so it all started making more sense once we found that bed for me, because when we got out of that first laurel patch and we contemplated moving the cell camera.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm getting pictures on it, and and you both were like, well, if we're getting pictures, let's just leave it, and then maybe in October we
figure
change
it out. Then.
If we need to, if we're not getting pictures. But then we started talking about how the deer are traveling on it, and I was like, they're always coming this way or they're coming up this way, and I thought they were always coming from that bench that is just down below it that had that old tree stand from however long ago that was down there. But as it turns out, once we saw that buck bed, I was like, no, it's that the buck that's coming through there that I keep getting pictures of, they're always headed either to or from that bed, to or from that direction. And then I started thinking back, like, I'm not seeing a lot of deer do that. It's usually a single buck coming through headed that direction or coming from.
I think we had 3 different.
I think there's different bucks that are using that.
Yeah. If I remember, there were 3 really good ones, though.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now I want to go back and look at those photos and kind of like take a look at what the wind was when they were going there to understand, because I do think it was a couple different bucks that were using it. They were coming through solo all during, the fall. You would catch a picture once in a while, or late summer, so I think that bed actually gets used year round.
Yeah. And I mean, if we're going to be honest, we didn't pick apart that laurel like we did the other one.
No.
So there's a really good chance there's more than just that bed in there.
Yeah. So that was kind of actually a really good find. That was like, I got super stoked about that because it actually made that whole section make sense to me. And now, because before I was like, I'm not sure how I would really hunt this. Like, I was like, I had to hunt probably just the edge of that laurel.
Well, that's what I was saying. When we got in that first pocket, I was like, not confused, but just trying to figure out what actually was happening there. Like, why is all the sign there? And then, like, the further we went, like the more clues we had to tie it all together.
as far as scrapes here go, those are the best ones you'll find because they actually had like defined licking branches and like
that was another weird thing. Like the spot we were at this morning, I brought that up. I'm like, there's the ground scraped up, but like where's the licking branches at?
Yeah,
like nothing's broken or twisted or.
And we found that here, and we've actually hung cameras on some of them, and I mean they're scrapes.
Yep. Yeah,
I just don't, I mean, there's maybe a branch over it. It's just not, snipped off or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, it just maybe isn't getting hammered or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, certainly it holds true when you find good ones. They're going to have like that long one that's in the laurel. It has a licking branch that runs the entire length of it, and it's all broken. A bunch of different branches are broken off of it and stuff like that. So they use it. I mean, the way I look at it is that, like we found that scrape line, right? Not every one of them necessarily had like a hammer, like dominant licking branch or whatever.
There was one. So there was one in the middle that had a giant licking branch that you found.
Yeah.
Between those laurels.
Yep.
Which is kind of like I said, it's just different.
Yeah. And it is weird because I always kind of thought like, scrape,
licking branch,
obvious licking branch, but here it's not so much. And I would guess that those are ones that aren't getting hit very often. They're just part of the.
Which is which is what's encouraging about the scrape line is like most of them had a good licking branch.
Yeah. And that's the only time I've ever seen that here. Like I've not seen any other like scrape lines that work out like that. I mean, there's a scrape line over the first spot that we were at today that runs like some of those logging roads, but there's more distance between them than what we saw.
Yeah, it was today. Very concentrated.
Yeah.
And those on those logging roads are very like obvious spots, like places where you would look at and be like, oh, there should be one right here. And it's like, oh yeah, there is one. This one to me was encouraging because it's like there wasn't really anything else around yet. So it's like clear, like that's how they're moving, like that's what they're using. So we get past all of that, and we, you went up on top of the ridge to look to see what was up there. Wasn't really anything.
More of the same dead brush and the same monotonous stuff. I mean, there was some deer sign up there. There was like small scat or whatever, but nothing to write home about, which you kind of would expect because there was actually like it was the next bench up and then it was the top, so you kind of maybe have expected something up there, but it just wasn't.
Yeah. And then you found a very faint trail that you just kind of followed out.
We followed that all the way to the point.
Yeah, and then we got out there and it was just a bunch of deadfall. Bunch of ferns. Yep. They were pawing up. I mean, that
winter sign. Yeah.
I mean,
they were hammering the fern bulbs in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear they spent a lot of time in there.
Lots of ferns.
And so there was lots of ferns, man. Then at that point, Tom had told me that there was a bed down in this one area, so we wanted to kind of hop down on this other bench and check out this area around this bed. Get down there and we saw.
Nice
a rub,
yeah.
A
couple historical ones then too when we got down there and could see it.
And so then it made sense. It's like, okay, if there's a bed out here, that makes sense because there's a little bit of buck sign here.
And then
we actually saw deer.
But then we heard a turkey gobble.
We did hear a turkey gobble,
which is
we're gonna kill that turkey in the morning.
We're gonna kill that turkey.
That's
tomorrow.
where we're going tomorrow morning. So we had a turkey just out of nowhere. Aaron and I are standing there looking at the rub. Yeah. Talking about the rub.
It's definitely a rut rub, like all frustration. We're like, it's probably rut.
Yeah, it was shredded.
Yeah.
And there's not a bunch of them around. There's like a couple historical ones, but it was just like he was pissed off and like hit that tree,
And then,
and you and I both like snap and like look at each other like, is that a turkey? It's like, and And the cool thing is that he actually gobbled in the area that I actually wanted to go to today and scout. But we were at a point in the day.
Good thing he gobbled first.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we went.
But we were also at a point in the day where it was like we were running out of light.
It's 4:30.
Yeah, and we wanted to get to some places to try to listen for gobbles this evening and try to roost birds. And so we were like, all right, well, we got to try to probably double back now and get out of here. So it was just kind of, dumb luck that we heard him gobble there. And we sat down for a little bit just to wait to see if we could hear him. He gobbled a couple times.
Yeah, that's 4 or 5 times, probably 6 times
easily.
maybe.
Yeah.
So he was fired up.
He's a fired up bird.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going to say he's going to be easy to kill, but he'll be.
We should be able to work him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we heard that, and then from there we sat down for a little bit and just listened, see if we could, see how he was moving or where he might end up or whatever the case was. Started raining a little bit, and then we figured we ought to just kind of double back at that point and head out to the place where we wanted to go to basically try to roost a bird for this evening. Well, what our first plan was in the first place. So we walked out of that cut, got back to the truck, drove over to the place. Well, near the place.
That was a long walk out.
Oh, that walk sucks.
From that gobble till we got back to the truck.
Felt like forever.
Dropping down that edge.
It was a mile and a half, probably.
Yeah.
2.
It was 2 miles?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean.
I think we're all tired at that point in time. We need a little snack or something.
Yeah, maybe more, because where we were getting ready to drop down over, I'd walked that logging road out before, and it was 2 miles to where my track ended.
Okay.
Oh, it was definitely at least 2 miles. Yeah.
So it was 2 miles just if you were to walk the logging road out the whole way, not counting how we had to
It probably was 2.5 miles in.
Yeah. So that was a long walk. That walk sucked.
Yeah.
We got back to the truck, drove over close to the spot we hunted yesterday.
Yep.
And or close to one of the spots we hunted yesterday.
So it was one of the areas that I walked through when I got here, just to check some of that out. And our good buddy Tom has shared some
intel with us.
Some turkey intel with us for that area. And we walked back that road, kind of set up a little bit, just sat for a little bit and listened. Maybe you heard some hens. And,
I thought I heard some hens.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I heard a gobble, but
coming from the same direction, same kind of time, but I didn't hear the gobble. You didn't hear the hens, so it's kind of iffy.
So, it could have been a crow and a woodpecker, but we you never know.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah. But, I mean, we ended up getting up after we listened. We getting rained on. Thought we heard something. Maybe we didn't. And then we decided to take a walk.
Got freaking cold.
Yeah, it did get cold quick. And we ended up walking back through all this, like, stuff that just it's basically like wiped out. It's a cut, and it's just kind of destroyed, and there's an area you can kind of get around the edge. So we got around the edge, wanted to go back and check this one kind of like open area out, and because we thought, maybe it might be a good place to.
Well, that's where we thought we heard the birds.
Right.
Too.
Yeah. Right. So it's like we'll head back there and see if maybe we catch something out in a field to confirm. Maybe we heard what we actually thought we heard.
The one confirmation is we did
find
tracks back there on that way in. But like you said, the open area was pretty good. There's a lot of good food back there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as vegetative cover, like there's not been a lot more that was as diverse as that. Like there's a lot of different stuff
for whitetails.
Yeah, for whitetails. Yeah, for
that's
whitetails.
what I got excited about, because there's like some apple trees we saw.
Yeah. But even the undergrowth is just different. Yeah.
And there's like that one area off to the right. It almost looked like it reminded me a little bit of like Kansas style stuff. I mean, not like CRP type grass, but just like the openness of it and like the shorter vegetation and stuff like that. It just looked like a really good spot.
Pockets of brush.
Yeah, it looked like a great spot for a buck to try to cut a doe out, during the rut. Like, I don't know that you would. I mean, I would hunt it earlier just because of some of those apple trees and shit like that.
You could hunt it. You could hunt it early. During the week, like less pressure days.
Yeah, for sure. And there was a big licking branch there that was there. So there's a scrape that was underneath that one.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pretty stoked about that. So that's a place we definitely need to come back and just kind of.
Yeah, because we also discussed like there's actually some terrain in there too. When you get back off that that edge, there's actually some points and maybe some areas that we might be able to find some bedding and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
there.
I think, and that is a place where I would definitely hang a camera for nothing else than to get inventory, because I think you would get some killer inventory in that general area.
No cell service though.
No, which is a bummer, because it's.
Cool.
I mean, it's not a hard walk. It's
long.
It's long.
It's an easy walk, but it's long.
Yeah, and there's some stuff in front of it that's going to draw a lot of people's attention that I think is going to keep people from being back that far.
Yes,
would be my guess.
So you gotta walk through a bunch of
the stuff out front is also not really unhuntable. Like I mean,
we saw some deer on the way out.
Yeah, we saw some deer on the way out.
Yeah, for sure.
3 deer on the way out.
Yeah.
No gobbles this afternoon, but the weather kind of was, it was raining.
Well, it dropped
and
from 62 to
temperature
47
drop.
and
Yeah,
started
ridiculous.
raining.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the end of that. So then we ended up hoofing it back, had some dinner. Now we're podcasting, having some whiskey, and that's about it. So our hunt plan for tomorrow is basically the bird we heard gobble tonight is the lucky winner to try to eat some lead tomorrow morning.
Number one. Yep.
We have a secondary plan to go to that other bird that we heard.
Yeah.
Over where we were at yesterday.
We can get back on a late morning bird if we need to.
Yeah.
But there's going to be 3 other birds with that one we go to first. So
yeah, we're going to triple up on the same spot. So Chad, all in all, man, what's your impression of this of what we've seen so far?
It's a beautiful place, man. Like just the terrain, the habitat, the creek bottoms, really intriguing place. I think that compared to some of the other big wood stuff that I've done, I think that the deer density here is probably better. Mm-hmm. But I also think at the same time, it's probably a little bit harder to hunt because there's not as much terrain here to funnel deer or to pinch them down. I mean, I think that when you talk to a lot of big woods guys, they refer to whitetails as just like wonders. Like they just go wherever. And I think here you probably get a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, and we were talking about the place where we heard the first turkey.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Right. So so that area, there's like a little bit of topography, but it's still relatively flat. Like they don't need to be like
they don't need to follow the topography if they don't want to.
Exactly.
It's not prohibitive.
Right. So where we changed the batteries in that first camera, like there's a little hill there, or whatever you want to call it.
You're talking 40 feet.
Yeah.
Right.
Like not.
So they don't necessarily have to travel the edge of that, and they don't have to travel the bench. They can go up and down it. They can go however they want, because I would call it rolling. It's not really like...
It's not a ridge.
There's no pinch points or anything like that.
And that was the whole reason I put that camera there, was because it was the only thing that I saw that was like literally one of the first cameras I hung.
Yeah.
Was that was the only piece of topography I saw that might make deer
it's just
do
enough
a
to
certain
influence.
thing. Yeah.
Especially for them to travel that bench, which is, we got great pictures on that bench.
Yeah.
And not just of deer, like we've had turkeys and bear, everything's on it,
Yeah.
But it still is rolling.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything that really pinches them, there is some pinch like areas in there, because we have where my camera is.
Yep.
That's kind of like
But
a
even
funnel.
still, that is still wide.
It's
You know what
wide.
I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
it's
a wide.
wide.
Like most people would look at it on a map and it would not be a pinch.
You
to
have
them.
to. You can't look at it on a map and find it. Like you had to walk in there and then see how the trails are running and be like, well, they're funneling along.
Yep.
This is what I would call the edge of this.
The hardest part of this place, and one of the hardest parts about this place, in my opinion, is that so much of what you are going to be able to hunt and make a plan around, you don't see any of it on a map.
Yeah.
It's all, you just have to log miles, and it's literally miles. Like today, we saw a handful of decent stuff and walked 8 miles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yesterday, we saw some okay stuff, walked 12 miles.
And some of the stuff we've seen today, you guys have already been in.
Yeah, we had known. We were just, I was trying to, we were both just trying to show you like what's here. Here's what we see.
Right.
This is what we're looking for. That way, eventually at some point, if you want to come back and hunt, like, some of the areas and stuff like that, and know if you're out scouting and you're still hunting or whatever, you know what to look for. And same thing you did with me in Ohio. Like when we would go together, it was like you showed me all your spots first. You know what I mean? And that was like, all right, well now let's go scout. You know, but it's like you're just not going to do it on a map. This is one of those places where it's just not going to happen.
Right, and that goes for the proofing. Is like we got into the area. Like you can ask Clint. I was sure I was going to kill a deer down in that swamp.
Oh, dude,
Hands
he
down.
would
I
have
was
put
like,
he would have put
I'm gonna
money
kill
on
a
it if you
deer down
asked
that
him to.
swamp.
If you would, before we walked in there, if you would have said, "I will bet you $50 you will not see any material deer sign,"
I'd be 100 less. I'd have $100 less right now.
yes, you
for
would.
sure.
Because he thought that was like a slam dunk.
Right. So, and not that you couldn't kill. I'm sure somebody could probably kill a deer back there. Like,
You better have a
but
lot of
there-
time.
Yeah. I mean, even for scat, like we didn't even
Not much.
one or two.
So one
Back
little random rub.
Yeah, and but if you look at it in a map, in theory, there's a lot of stuff that should
on a map,
pinch
I was
deer
excited
down.
about it.
Yeah,
like-
you have a pinch. There's
there's oxbows,
edge, there's a lot
things that
going
go
on there.
across. You're like, oh man, this looks awesome on a map. It
Yeah.
looks awesome.
Yeah.
And you get in there, and it's not that like deer like cover. It was thick cover, but it was really like, how in the world would you get back there with a bow and a pack on
Yeah.
in the dark?
Yeah. I couldn't imagine
couldn't
walking through
do
that
it.
shit in the dark.
Can't.
Couldn't do it.
But so, dig the place? Yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, the one other than the second spot we went today, like even the first spot we went this morning, and I talked to you guys about this, but getting set up to have a shot opportunity is
Tough.
man, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a
Convergence of like a bunch of different.
there's a bunch of stuff going on there with like I would call them like buffer strips of timber.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you could be within 35 yards of a deer and not have a shot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Well,
really difficult, man.
Yeah.
I mean, what we walked through this afternoon, I think, is a little bit easier.
Easier to get a shot, maybe harder to actually see the deer.
Yeah.
maybe harder to access in general.
It's more work for sure. Yeah, access is harder. I mean,
access is harder.
You got a pretty good climb to get up to where we were.
The first area that we were this morning is definitely thicker, like heavier cover, which is what makes part of the shot hard.
Yeah.
The one setup that we did find, it seems would be pretty dynamite.
I would be the spot that I would. Yeah. That'd be the spot
because
that
that's
I would
where they
pick.
all kind of come together.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things is about this place too is we've only really just
Just scratch the surface.
surface. Like we've scouted.
Well, now we know. Well, I mean, for a while we didn't even know what sign we were looking for because we didn't know how to qualify. It's like, well, how much sign is good sign? Like,
Wait, so when we came here last year, we found a scrape,
a scrape,
a
and handful of
maybe
rubs,
5 or 6 rubs.
Yeah, and one bed
total.
One bed.
Yep.
And that was it.
Well, that's what it takes, man. When you get in these big country, right?
Mhm.
I mean, there's a lot of acreage here. You're in big woods. There's not a lot of structure. It takes time to qualify everything, to build a profile, to some camera history.
I was just gonna say our one saving grace here has been that, like, through nothing more than probably some luck, is that the trail camera placements that I had last year were awesome.
Yeah.
And that was like expedited the whole like figuring out like what they're doing, where they're coming from. Because that was the whole reason why near those hemlocks, that's why I scouted that whenever I was here, whenever that was in February or whatever. Because I was like, I know that they're coming from this direction. I know they're headed in this direction. I was like, I just need to figure out where. And then I went into that spot, and it was the same thing where it's like a bunch of nothing. Then all of a sudden, boom, the habitat just changes like immediately. And then it was like all of a sudden it was like rub, scrape, rub.
Yeah,
There's a lot of scrapes in there.
Yeah, and I mean, what that one little area we probably counted like 10.
Yeah. And the one thing Aaron said earlier is you're not seeing that from an aerial.
No.
I mean, there's edge there. There's some habitat diversity, but you're not seeing that diversity and edge on a map to say, okay.
It's not significant enough to show up on a satellite.
Exactly.
Nope.
It just looks like, because it's mixed in, it's more just like the hardwood stuff stays the same. It's the filler in between that changes.
Right.
Mhm.
It goes from all that like twiggy, beachy, small stuff to all of a sudden like these shrubby, almost like it's not laurel in there, but it's
whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is. but it starts to fill in the gaps. You know what I mean? Where you start to now have like edge and cover and things like that. And you won't see that on a map because it'll just look like the hardwoods if you look at satellite.
Yeah.
You know? So
and the other thing about the bucks that live here is they, especially during the rut, like to go from the ridge we started on this morning to the ridge we were on this afternoon is nothing.
Yeah.
Because they did, like, we had that 111 pointer we had him on that first hillside. Like, I think he was on Tom's camera.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, a couple hours later, he's on the other ridge.
Yep.
Same deer.
Yep.
Chasing does. So it's hard to, without finding those little pockets, without the cameras and finding those little pockets, you wouldn't even have a chance.
Oh no, you'd be screwed. But we're not going to be screwed tomorrow. We're going to find that bird. We're going to kill it.
Yep.
That's the plan. So with that, I think we miss anything, or are we good? Did we cover everything?
Pretty good.
I think we got everything.
Good. Yeah. All right. Well, fellas, turkey. Well, I know we got another day or so left, but turkey camp's been good. We might have to make this an inaugural turkey camp.
It was fun.
Thing. Yeah.
Good time.
Good time. Appreciate you guys' company, hanging out in the Mauve Bomber.
Yeah.
Mauve Bomber.
I missed her.
I know that's what you said when you got here. Like, I missed her. You gave her the old pound on the side. You know, it's like,
hey, it fits 3 people pretty comfortably. I was pretty worried that I was going to have to sleep underneath Chad in the hammock when, we were
I like the fact that you call it a hammock, where I think everyone else calls it a hammock.
Oh, I'm a Dutchie.
On that note,
you were pretty interested in pretty impressed with the Amish accent last night.
Oh yeah,
I had it going.
What
on.
was it?
He had the Amish accent going
impression.
last night.
Oh, from the trade show. That was on point.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to get out of here. Thanks all for listening. All right, folks, that is a wrap for today's show. I'd like to thank all of you for listening. If you haven't yet, please head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And while you're at it, head over to YouTube and give us a sub there as well. I'd be super appreciative if you do those couple things for me. And before I shut this thing down, I need to give a big shout out to our partners who continue to help us make this podcast possible. Tethered, Spartan Forge, Exodus, and Skull Brew Coffee Company. And until next time, we'll see y'all.